What starts as a tip can turn into a front page story.
First, Alabama's Roy Moore, now the Republican candidate for Senate. The Washington Post first reporting.
Published yesterday in the Washington Post.
A new report by the Washington Post. It claims that in the late 70s, the then 32-year-old attorney may have crossed the line with a 14-year-old girl.
I went to Alabama back in early October, actually, to write a story, not about Roy Moore per se, but we were interested in writing about Roy Moore's supporters and really understanding sort of why it was that they felt so passionately about this candidate for Senate.
You're from Alabama?
I'm from Alabama. I grew up in Birmingham. My grandfather was a Southern Baptist preacher. This story sort of emerged, this talk that, well, you know, there have been stories for years that Roy Moore sort of had an affinity for younger women, teenage girls. I was, skeptical, as we always are as reporters, and eventually it came to light that, certain names of women. People say that, he used to hang out at the mall. Well, then we started to try to find people who worked at the mall in the time frame that we were looking at, 1977 to 1982. It's not good enough for someone to just say he hung out at the mall. We have to find people who actually, saw him. It's not enough just to hear that someone had an affinity for teenage girls. Well, we have to find out whether there's any reality there. It's a long process of talking to one person and another, and they give you 3 names, and then those 3 people give you 3 more names, and then at a
certain point you have this really long list, and you're just going and crossing them off, and
exactly.
That's a dead lead, but this might go somewhere.
Exactly, and so my colleague Beth Reinhard came down, and that's how it went.
How do you know that, hey, I really got something here that I need to look into more?
It's just your instincts, your gut tells you, wow, this is a story about Roy Moore, and these are pretty serious allegations against him, and if there's credibility to them, then that's a pretty shocking story. But we also needed to be very careful in vetting information and making sure that the people we were talking to didn't have any access to grind.
When you have that first conversation, is it all off the record? I mean, do you tell someone, look, if you don't want me to use your name and use your details, I won't. I just want to talk to you at first.
That's often how it works. In the case of Lee, she of course was not sure at all that she wanted to go on the record. I was interested nonetheless in hearing her story. I wanted to know what she had to say, and so the way to do that was to just meet her. In fact, I didn't take any notes really for the first time I met her. Of course, later we took plenty of notes, pages and pages of notes. But the first meeting really was just a chance to, hear her story in a way that she felt comfortable telling it, which was off the record. I try to treat someone how I would like to be treated, really. And I'm really interested in what the other person has to say. That's why I'm there. I'm there to listen.
So how do you convince someone to go from being off the record to taking their story on the record and letting you use their name in their story?
I think the answer to that is you don't convince people. The way I really think of it is, I'm here to listen, we're here to listen, we are the Washington Post, we're going to handle this story responsibly. We're not just going to willy-nilly put it in the paper, we're going to handle it with care. And I just sort of see my role more as offering a chance for people to go on the record or to tell their story if they want to.
You don't pay people to be your sources?
Absolutely not, no. Absolutely not.
You had to tell some of these women that they're going to be under a lot of scrutiny.
We want to try to make the story as strong and as airtight as possible. That is our best defense.
We have a sense that if you do decide to go public with this story, if there's a good chance this story will be attacked, that your credibility will be attacked.
And are there documents that you can look back that verify?
Of course. Every time she told the story, we're always alert for things that are verifiable. She mentioned a corner where she says Roy Moore picked her up. Well, we went to that corner. She talked about a long drive. We looked up property records. We know where he was living at the time. We did that drive.
If we say the driveway was unpaved, is someone going to show up with a picture of the driveway paved?
So you're actually going to the driveway, looking at the driveway.
Literally, yeah. Every sentence we went through and vetted. And with a story with so many details, it was painstaking fact-checking. We were at the local courthouse in Etowah County in Gadsden, Alabama, using their somewhat archaic computer system and requesting files, and they would come back and say, oh, that's on microfiche and our microfiche machine is broken. Sorry.
We did very little phone reporting. We both felt like it was much better to talk to people in person so that they could see who we are, so they could see that we're human beings and that we're reporters, and also so that we could see them. People, especially these days, I think are surprised to see a person with a notebook and a pen showing up at their door and saying, no, I'm a reporter and I'm here, because they have questions.
Because you're not there to be their friend, and you're also not there to be their cheerleader, but you do want to hear what they have to say.
Exactly. We're not there to be people's friends. We're not there for any other reason. As corny as it sounds, the agenda is to figure out what the reality is, what the truth is of a story. That's it.